going to do that and then hit the microphone. Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and call the Amherst County Service Authority Board of Directors meeting to order. I'll let the record reflect that today is October 6th and the time is 1:33. Mr. Hopkins, I guess you take it from here.
Okay, well, you've all been introduced, but I've got some information for you. For the last several years, ever since you all made me director, you've been asking a couple times a year as to when I was going to bring on an assistant. And I told you every time that I was waiting until I figured out what I needed, and then I was going to look for who I wanted, qualifications wise, and then I was going to start looking for a person. And that I'd almost certainly bring somebody on in 2020. That process is now complete, and I think we've got a real find in Richard Hall. If you look at that list, you can look at his qualifications. He's a former utilities director. He's worked for multiple state and local government agencies. He was a training center for many years. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff he brings to the table. If nothing else, I mean, just setting aside stuff for the service authority, but he knows the training center. I mean, the county, of course, is looking to for redevelopment of that site over the next several years. He is intimately familiar with it, with the state staff, with procedures with the state. So he's also been attending the tag team meetings. So he's going to continue that, except he'll be representing the service authority now. So he's a real find for us. I think he's going to be an incredible assistant director. He's already already brought several things to the table that I didn't expect. A couple of them are listed on the list there. And I don't want to go on and on about it. If you all have any questions for him, he's here to answer them, but I hope you all will welcome him because he's going to be a real big help for us.
Welcome. Is there anything you want us to know about you? You want to get your horn for a second?
Well, I guess to introduce myself, for nearly the last decade, I've been working at Central Virginia Training Center. And in addition to other administrative responsibilities, as Bob mentioned, I was over the utility system over there, which encompassed 2 elevated storage tanks that are, one's at 200,000 gallons, one at 300,000 gallons. I think there's approximately 3 miles of water service line, and that includes some of the branches and probably that 3 miles of sewer lines, not including laterals outside of the old buildings. Unfortunately, it's an aged infrastructure. It has a lot of lead. Most of the infrastructure was put in place probably in the early 50s. So it is certainly a challenging system to maintain over there. As my tenure at Central Virginia Training Center included having to step up and be part of the strategic management team and the last actual director over there, which included administrative responsibilities for at least 7 departments. Very involved on the state level with meetings with folks down at the Department of Behavioral Health. I hope to bring a lot of administrative experience to the ACA to assist Bob and a lot of tasks that he has going on. Seems to be a real fine team of folks out there. I've enjoyed the last 3 weeks working there.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Or any questions for Mr. Hall? Welcome aboard. All right, up next, we're going to move to citizen comments. Is there anybody here wishing to address the board?
Yeah, I'd like to speak if I'm at the right time.
Yeah. If you, I don't know if that microphone is on.
Okay.
But if you pop that on and then state your name and address.
All right, looks like it's on. You want me to leave my mask on? Or?
You can remove it while you're thinking.
All right.
Well, the screw needs to be undone, redone. Stay close to the pin.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna hand you guys this before I get started. It'll probably help. I can hand one each to, it'll help explain what I'm gonna explain a little bit better. All right. So my name is Trevor Gillespie. The project that I'm talking about is 135 Westville Court, which is located right off of 29, back behind Northville Storage, back in behind like where Quickie is and all that. The reason I wanted to come in today is I've been speaking with Bob a little bit. I purchased the properties back in 2018. Since that time, I've had a trouble with 135 Westville with the septic system that's there. It's an old pump system. The soil really wasn't right for it, and the way I've been told, the guy that put it in place, it probably shouldn't even been done, really. So with what we were looking at here, I mean, I've had it patched and had it worked on. Everything's working fine now, but instead of patching, I'd like to propose an extension of the sewer line to be able to provide sewer to that building there. So on the map that I gave all you guys, it has red asterisks that Bob had put in place. Those are all the properties that I own around this section here. There's an existing sewer line on the backside of where it shows the asterisk off of the corner of Eastville Drive, which it shows 133. That sewer line, what I'm looking to do is run it down the backside of the properties. There's a sewer line that's directly behind it, but the fellow that is back there will not give me an easement to it. I tried back in 2018, got to the point I couldn't get him to return a call or a letter or anything there. So actually I met him in person and we discussed it, and I couldn't get an easement for it. So now with that, I am willing to, and I talked to Bob about it as well, I'm willing to commit that I have a four unit building right there at the 135 Westville, and to make it better for the service authority, I'm willing to commit, I'll go ahead and connect 119 through 129. They're all residential units there, and those units, it would be 6 units in that building, so it'd be a total of 10 buildings, so 10 different sewer bills that will be connected onto it, so it'll be 10 new customers. We also marked the red asterisks on the top side of that, on the fire side of Westville Court, just to show that I do have 2 lots there. Now, with me committing to this, it will, take me a little bit of time later until we can build on those lots, but having sewer there will allow me to build something a little bit larger, and I can do something later on down the road with that location as well, that I would commit that I would connect those buildings onto it as well when we do it at that point in time. So pretty much what I'm proposing is to extend it out, and I'm willing to pay the connection fees and the availability fees for everything I have in place now, and then it would allow for a potential future build out on it as well. I don't know if I covered everything, if there's any questions.
Well, I'll go ahead and take it from there. Mr. Gillespie did contact me. We've been talking about this. We need sewer connections. We really do. I mean, we've got about 6,400 water connections. We've got, I think, 1,100 sewer connections. We really need to build up on sewer. We've got a program. Nothing. He's got a failing septic system, which makes it a public health hazard. And I would really like to do this. Running this phase 1 project would be the sewer along the north property line, all the way over, as far as it goes at the north property line. And, it's an immediate 10 connections. We had I should have said this at a couple of meetings ago when the Habitat for Humanity people came in, and they were looking for a sewer extension over at Nottingham Place. And we were talking, and Mr. Harvey brought up the idea of prioritizing these projects. To me, these kind of projects are the priority. Not only because there's an immediate hazard that needs to be fixed, but also because they're immediate connections. I mean, we've got a lot of other places we can run sanitary sewer into developed areas and let them sit there until drain fields are ready to, they start failing and people are ready to connect. But that could be years. So we could have that extensive capital outlay and not see anything from it for a long time. But here's $50,000 in service fees, tap fees right off the top with the line being going in. And we've got immediate connections and immediate sales. So I would like to do this, and I propose doing it with the joint county county service authorities sewer extension money, because it was set up to extend sewers into existing developed residential areas. And these are residences. These are, they are commercial, they're commercial buildings, but they are residences with a drain field that's going back. So I'm proposing that we proceed with this, and I'm asking for your all's authorization.
That's not part of the agenda today. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that's right, this is citizen comment. So, yeah, I guess, well, I don't know whether you can actually comment on it now or whether we have to wait till the next meeting.
Well, if I may, I'd like to see some information on what the return on investment is. So what's the initial capital outlay, and how many years will it take to service start and capture?
I'll bring that in next week.
Thank you, and to follow up on that, I was a little unclear, I didn't quite follow about the availability of a line that Mr. Gillespie could not access because of lack of easement. And was that on the north side of the property?
Yeah.
It's just on the top.
Yeah, so if you look at the backside, if you look directly behind 135 Westville where the asterisk is, where Bob's got the layout of the extensive sewer line, you can see the dotted line which shows the county's sewer line on the backside. And for some odd reason, when that line was ran, they did not give an easement to the neighboring property lines. So technically, it's directly on that property owner's property. And so with my further conversations with him, he wouldn't give me an easement to go through his property to access that, which, and through that too, I would have to, it would be pretty extensive too, because we'd have to go through a creek line is the way that goes to that one.
All right.
Yeah, so it'd be like wetlands work we would have to do.
That's a change.
And as part of that, I am going to follow up with that property owner and just make sure that would be a shorter line, of course. There might have to be more than one, but it would be shorter, might save us money, and I do want to follow up and see if that might be an option.
The other piece I'd be interested to understand, Mr. Hopkins, is what would be a private sewer and what would be a public sewer on this map? Would all of it go into the inventory of the authority, or where do the services start and where does the public sewer?
All of the light green lines are existing public sewer. The 1 to about half dozen dark green lines and the black dots, manholes, that would all be public sewer.
So to be an equivalent easement for those?
Yes, yeah, and Mr. Gillespie's willing to give us easements for all that. And he's willing to commit to the easements now, even though he doesn't need the sewer at this time for either the existing buildings or the future buildings.
I think that'd be important. Okay.
Would the tap fees be per unit or per building?
And for the code, they're per unit. And he gets, I think it's 3,000, I'm sorry, did this to you?
Yeah.
It's 4,500 per unit, but after the third unit, it drops to 3,240, I think it is.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm willing to put up the capital. It's going to take a lot for me to do it, but I'm willing to put up the capital if I can get some help from it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For coming today, and then Mr. Hopkins will add this to a future agenda so that we have more details.
Be next month, yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry, one more thing, just, I know you said you were willing to connect those units, but can there be some type of agreement for us to review, assuring us that those units would be connected if the sewer lines constructed?
What I was going to propose is that those fees for the first 10 actually be paid before we start the work.
However you make that assurance, that's something I would like to see.
Yeah, and I'm committed to it. So if you guys will do it, then I'll commit to it, and that's what I'm willing to do to make it happen.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Up next, we have the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving over to the approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the minutes submitted.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes have been approved. Monthly financial report.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Before I start, I want to let you know that Mr. Perot called me this morning and he requested that he would like to sit down and talk about the format of these reports and see if we can't find a way to to make them more informative. And I told him I've never really been comfortable with the way we're judging how we're doing, just comparing to last year. And so sometime he and I are going to sit down and get Mr. Hall involved. If any of the rest of you would also like to be involved, please let one of us know. As part of that, I'm also looking at updating the budget. I mean, you all have asked about, the budget format and what's in it. And so that will also be part of that process. It probably won't happen for this budget because I've got to have it to you next meeting. But we will start that process, and hopefully by the 2021 preparation for the 2022 budget, we will have better process in place.
No, Chair, if I could add to that. The intent of that is just to look at, not to make any decisions necessarily, but I've done this with other organizations in the past, but to come back to the board then with an example of what it could be, how it could set up, and then you don't actually make a change until the end of the fiscal year, when it's a clean time to make a change. But that way the board can certainly approve or take a look at it in office hours, except for participants. As Robin said.
And moving forward, as per the last few meetings, you've got the actual financial report, the 9-page report, and I'm going to just forego that. You've got that, and you can review that at your leisure. Hopefully you already have. If you have any questions, please comment or ask them. But I did want to go to the pandemic impact chart and talk about that a little bit. And again, just to show that compared to last month, we are again continuing to improve. One thing I do want to mention on the actual financial report, the first page, you can look at the total revenue figures or percentages for the water department at over 14%, and the wastewater department at almost 41%. I mean, those are real numbers, but they don't reflect sales. I mean, we had in the month of August, we got a reimbursement from VDOT for the Woodies Lake Road project for work we had done for over $313,000. That's not sales. That's just reimbursement of revenue. So you really need to take that out of these numbers. And on the wastewater, at the same period, we got a reimbursement from DHCD on the Old Town Madison Heights sewer project of over $282,000. So if you take out those figures and go back to water, then we're almost breaking even compared to last month, or compared to last year. Negative 0.05%, less than $1,000 difference. For sewer, that 40.75% drops to about a negative 6.3%. So we're still improving, and I still think by the end of the year, all of the deficits are going to be gone. And I guess really that's all I have to say, unless you have any questions.
That for you?
Questions? Okay. So move on to old business. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not gonna talk about absolutely everything. The reservoir primary spillway, all the shop drawings for the work has started. The shop drawings have all been approved. We've actually had a chance, and we have executed a change order to save us $12,000 on the project. The contractor came back and said that instead of replacing some of the valve and sluice gate equipment, they can get it refurbished. And so we're going to do that. It's going to save us $12,000. And they actually have, by the end of this week, they will have all the equipment ready to be installed, and they will be at the reservoir Monday to start that work. And it should all be done by the end of next week. So that will enable us to open the sluice gate, operate all the valves, and it's going to put us in a better safety situation concerning major storms that come in. We can lower the lake water level when we need to. On the VDOT Woodies Lake Road project, I mentioned a few minutes ago, the Service Authority water and sewer relocations. The water main installation is now complete from Walmart all the way to the east end of the project. We submitted a reimbursement request to VDOT of almost $150,000 on September 29th. I should be getting that shortly, and it will be on the November agenda, November board meeting agenda for appropriation from reserves. I've had them add to the project casings for future sanitary sewer extensions to surrounding, areas on the other side of Woody Lake Road, so we're not going to dig up the road to put in sewers when we extend, sanitary sewers to those areas. They've used about 45% of the contract time and about 62% of the contract work and costs have all been used up. I just got a reimbursement request for over $341,000, which will be paid and will go back to VDOT for reimbursement. That should also be on the November board meeting agenda to appropriate that money into our budget. You can see on the, if you open the staff report, you can see what the project schedule is for the rest of the project, and they're expecting to be done in mid-December. And at the progress meeting this past week, everybody has expressed total satisfaction with the work. Us, VDOT, contractor, there have been, well, up until Friday afternoon, there had been literally no complaints from people who live out there. And one lady actually hit a bump, and she supposedly, I haven't seen the pictures yet, but supposedly she damaged her tire rim. And I've already told her Profit, they've gotten in touch with the contractor. This contractor's responsibility won't reflect back on us. That's a lot of information. Any questions on that? Okay, Phelps Road School. As I reported last month, everything is in except for the firewall, which should be in sometime soon. The sidewalks have all been restored. And I've gotten my 3 quotes for the pavement restorations on Phelps Road and sent the low contractor, or the low company, the authorization to proceed. That work is probably going to be done next week. BC Mobile Home Park. We've talked about this in the past about trying to find a way to maintain water to both the mobile home park, which is south of Central Virginia Training Center and connected to the CVTC water system, and also maintain water to the lower Rapid End buildings of CVTC, which the state wants to keep open. We've had conference calls with the state on September 8th and 25th. Richard participated in the September 25th call. And I sent another letter on the 28th, which discussed, I came up with went ahead and did a better cost estimate for what I think the work is going to cost to do all this, and proposed a split of the work between us and the state, and hopefully the owners of the mobile home park. And that went out on September 28th, and I'm waiting to hear back from the state on that. They, at the last conference call, they were balking at participating in the funding of the work, which is really where I'm looking for their help. And so I've already started drafting letters to our local state government representatives, and haven't sent them, and I'm not going to send them unless I need to. But if we need to get their help, I mean, the way I've proposed this to the state is that, the state allowed this mobile home park to connect to the state, to this private state water system when the mobile home park's water was found to be unsuitable by the Department of Health. And they've been connected for I think it's 37 years, and been getting supplied water that way. And the fact that the state wants to close this facility should not allow them, in my opinion, to just walk away from this site and leave these 71 families without water. So I'm proposing that the state help with this. I really think they should, and I'm hoping they will. And if I need to, I'll send these letters to the state local reps and see if I can't get them to engage their help to get the CVTC and the state to help with this. And if I need to, I'll get the residents of the mobile home park to maybe jump on board too. But I won't do that without letting you know ahead of time. So I know that could end up being a bit of a PR situation. And that's all I've got on that, unless you all have any questions. All right, the Grand Creek Reservoir Dam Improvements Project. I've talked to you all the last couple of weeks about the ability to reduce the size and the cost of the work based on new regulations that I guess DCR promulgated regarding time distribution of the storms, which is going to result in less water going into the reservoir, so we don't have to worry about raising the dam crest to contain it and slowly release it. and we don't have to worry about widening the emergency spillway to handle it. All we're gonna have to do is extend the emergency spillway and relocate the erosion control riprap further downstream, and that's essentially it. The cost of the work is projected to drop from $5 million to less than $2 million. So we should save over $3 million in costs. The payback of the loan is being proposed by the financial consultants to be reduced from 25 years to 20 years. We're going to be eliminating capitalized interest, which, if you all don't know, I didn't know until I asked, is paying interest on money that you borrowed to pay interest, which is stupid. So, but we can eliminate that. And the new BRA project financing, which is supposed to be confirmed at the end of this month. The financial consultants estimated at 3.5%. It should be quite a bit less than that, so we should be saving money there also. So I'll come back at the November meeting, let you know where we are on that. At that point, we should have everything finalized. So, and I think the work might be able to get done at the end of next year. Herd Profit wants to be a little bit more conservative, considering we want to apply this fall if DCR it has a grant program for engineering costs. So they want to just go ahead and leave it open to the end of 2022. So that's what the financing documents are actually going to show.
I might butt in. It just occurred to me because I haven't gotten anything back from the State Corporation Commission. I haven't forwarded anything to Mr. Hopkins, but I just logged into the State Corporation Commission website, and apparently the amendment was accepted by the commission on September 3rd. So you guys are official, at least as far as they're concerned. They just haven't sent me the documentation.
Thank you. I think that's all I've got on the reservoir project. The rates and fees adjustments, case one of the pro forma was adopted at last month's meeting, and I'm working on a draft ordinance to be presented in a public hearing at the second supervisor, it'd be a joint meeting at the second supervisors meeting in November, just like we did last year. I'm also working on the budget, and I'm hoping to get it to you at our November meeting, so you'll have a good month to look it over, come up with questions and comments, and hopefully get comments back during the month of November, so I can incorporate anything you all have to do, and we can have it ready to adopt at December. Board reorganization, Mr. Lockaby just filled you in on that. Board members' compensation. That was tabled at last month's meeting, pending you all getting a copy of the list of current board compensations. I included it in the board packet. I didn't know whether you wanted to have, continue that discussion now or what you want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. That's some really good news about the dam. That's going to save the authority a lot of money. Hopefully it will take a little pressure off the rate increases maybe in the future. We'll see. As far as compensation, I said this last time, I'll say it again, we should set the rate at $100 per month, as a lot of the other boards are doing, and that would be strictly for the two citizen members as of now, because we are already compensated, and there's no need to change what we already received. So my motion would be to set the compensation at $100 per month, unless there's further discussion.
And does the board of supervisors have to vote on that?
Yeah, I was going to clarify for you. That's just your all's recommendation to the board of supervisors.
If I may, I did have one question. So the planning commission, how often do they meet? Do they meet twice a month or once a month?
Once a month. We have been meeting twice a month, but it's just once a month now.
Any further discussion?
I'm fine.
So there is is it a motion to make a recommendation to the board? Is that, okay.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to make a recommendation to the board of supervisors that we set the per diem for the Amherst County Service Authority for $100 a month.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Now, just for my edification, how does that work? I mean, does that automatically go on the next supervisor? I mean, can it be presented at this afternoon supervisors meeting, or do we need to wait until next month and add it to the agenda?
I think it would be added to the agenda for the second meeting this month, so it'll probably go into effect before the next meeting of the service authority.
I mean, technically, we could add it to the agenda if we wanted to, but either way.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all I've got on old business, unless you all have any questions.
any questions, board?
First item of new business is COVID-19 updates, and we've got a few. The, last time I heard, I'm pretty sure the state lifted its moratorium on late fee assessments and service cutoffs yesterday. But there is, I reported, I think at last month's meeting, that there was a proposed legislation from the Virginia Poverty Law Center that was, General Assembly was looking at regarding requirements for a debt repayment plan and how that would be instituted. And I've been talking with other utilities and other organizations that we belong to about that, and commenting back to the General Assembly. And the last I've heard, and this was just this past week, the McGuire Woods, an environmental law firm in Richmond, sent out a notice that the Poverty Law Center General Assembly bills have essentially been pretty much tabled, but the General Assembly has adopted new legislation, or will, regarding the budget, which, according to Preston Bryant, is very, it applies to all utilities, including those regulated, not regulated by the SEC. And if adopted as is, it's going to be quote unquote subject, we would be subject to onerous mandates and oversight. I don't know what all that means yet. I haven't had a chance to review the bill. I'll try to do that by the next meeting. So we got some potential problems coming up that we may need to address, hopefully. I mean, we've already got a debt repayment plan, so that's not an issue. I just don't know what the onerous mandates and oversight refer to at this time. At the September meeting, Mr. Martin, you asked about the number of service authority customers that were having problems paying their bill, having to do with the pandemic. At that point in time, I estimated it to be about 40. At this time, the number, our cutoff ceiling is $200. And as of last week, that number had gone up to 87, though I don't know how much of that. I mean, we have 20, 30, 40 every month. They go over that. We actually cut off and they come right in and pay their bills. So I don't know how many of them are actually pandemic related, but those 87 accounts are only 1.37% of our total number of accounts, and the total amount of money I didn't come in with that figure. It's not excessive. And we are contacting them. And the third item in the report is that last month, Ms. Moore, you asked me to put out a couple notices. And I've attached copies of the notice that we sent out to everybody who has an account that's overdue on September 15th for that billing cycle, and we're going to send out another one this month for this month's billing cycle. I think that's all I've got. Unless you all have any questions on COVID-19.
Since the September 15th notice, has anybody contacted you?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we've had 3 or 4, and actually I think more than 3 or 4. But we've had, even before we sent out the notices, there were several people that were contacting us because the bills had already gone out, and we've got quite a few more people on the debt repayment plan than we did say 2 weeks ago.
That sounds like everybody's working it out.
Yes, ma'am. Slowly but surely. Next item is drinking water regulations updates, and we've got 3, and they're not good news. EPA is going through its first revisions to the lead and copper rule in 30 years, and they're supposed to be releasing the their final version of the revisions to public comment this month. And if you read the report, it tells you what, I mean, it's self-explanatory why they're doing it. But some of the things that that are going to be part of this will be some real problems for the for the service authority. The school board is going to be subject to, or may be subject to collecting water samples and having them tested and submitted to the state for lead levels. And for us, we would have to require, we would be required to create an inventory of all lead service lines in our system, which is a major problem because we don't know where they are. And the only way to find them is by digging them up. And you're talking about digging up people's front yards and backyards, which they're not going to be real happy about. So I'm curious, and this actually came up about a year ago, and I questioned the guy from EPA at a conference I went to, and he said they didn't know how they were going to address that yet, but they were planning on doing this. So I'm waiting to see what the final revision of the rule comes out to see what they're proposing. The replacement, and all lead service lines, utilities would be required at our cost to replace them.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
When you say service line, is that on the owner side of the meter?
Yes, sir.
So
The entire line from the main to the house.
So from the meter to the
No,
house?
from the main to the meter and to the house.
Okay.
I don't think we got any, from the mains to the meter. I'd have to talk to Glenn. We may have a few, but I don't think so.
I mean, so I could understand from the main to the meter, because that's kind of our responsibility, right? But the service line, the private service line from the meter to the house, and I think in your report, you're also considering saddling the service authority with having to replace lead pipes in private businesses.
Yes, sir. The plumbing inside the building.
That is ridiculous.
It is.
And I would suggest that the service authority go ahead and have Mr. Hopkins and Mr. Lockley start drafting a letter of our opposition to that. I don't think there's any way that, one, we could afford it, and two, that we should be responsible for private services.
Well, this came up at this conference, and there must have been 20 utility representatives that said they're going to oppose this, and the guy from EPA did bad enough.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure that.
That's fine with me. Board, everybody in agreement?
Yeah, that's fine. Mr. Hopkins, so, but that's still, I mean, that's one major part of it, but there's also going to be, you are required to do 20% of all schools. You must conduct inventories of all the pipes. I mean, it's a lot of stuff in this.
Yes. You're talking a lot of money to do this. A lot of time, a lot of money, and
So where is this in the works? I mean, is this just,
it hasn't been released for public comment yet. It's supposed to be out this month according to the notice that I got.
I just think we're all good. So once it comes out.
I agree.
We can certainly submit a comment and put together numbers, and that's good in terms of creating a record.
Next item is related to, I can say these, I always had trouble saying it, perfluoroalkyls and polyfluoroalkyls. They're called PFAS, PFAS. That's like even more than the L&C rule, the lead copper rule. This is the big buzzword with EPA right now, is testing for this stuff. This is, and ensuring that drinking water is safe from it. Where this stuff comes from is certain industrial processes, which we don't have, from my research in Central Virginia, military bases, which we don't have in Central Virginia, and certain firefighting equipment, which I haven't had a chance to check with Mr. Bryant to see what kind of equipment they use and what that's involved. But what I've already decided to go through and contract with Pace Laboratories to proactively test our two existing raw water sources and our proposed source on James River, and also our finished water. I'd like to have that water, that information in our file somewhere. So when it comes back, we will already know whether or not we have to address anything. I honestly don't think we're going to have to, but I just want to have that information right away. And the last, any questions on that? The last thing is I just added this at the very end because I heard over the last couple of weeks about the issues down in Florida and Louisiana regarding I'm not even trying to say the name of the amoeba. That's the brain-eating amoeba. We're drafting I can't imagine whatever, well, I guess I can. If questions come up, I'm drafting a response so that we will have answers to those questions related if customers up here asking. So that will be done. And the last item on new business is miscellaneous matters. At the same time, we hired Mr. Hall as assistant director. We also brought on two new utility mechanic apprentices, Stacy Andrews and Graydon Vickery Plogger. They started on the same day, September 16th. And everything I hear from the crew supervisors, these guys are enthusiastic and gung-ho, first ones in the hole when there's work to be done in a ditch. And they seem to really enjoy the work. So I'm hoping that's going to, they're going to be here for a long time. A couple months ago, I'll go ahead and let you all show these things around. I got for our staff, number one, to promote the June 30th Water and Wastewater Professionals Appreciation Day, and also our eighth consecutive Department of Health Award for excellent drinking water production. Had the shirts made up for staff and distributed them a couple months ago. Also got one from one of our ACSA, one of our contractors, specifically Southern Corrosion. Somebody up there mentioned Southern Corrosion a bit ago. They were actually distributing shirts to all their clients, and so I contacted them and got them to send us 25 of them. So I was able to get them distributed. And just so you know, on the green shirt, that's the one from them. It says "Water is my world," and it cites John chapter 7:38. That's not what John chapter 7:38 says. It references the rivers of living water. So I guess they took some poetic license with the shirt. If you all are available at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and want to go into Facebook, I'm going to be on the Chamber of Commerce's Chamber Chats weekly media program. I thought this would be, they asked me a couple weeks ago, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to promote ACSA and also get information out to the public, to people who attend, which is, of course, one of our business friendliness initiatives. I'm still waiting for the questions. They promised me they would give me the questions ahead of time, and so I'm hoping to get them this afternoon. So it might be good for a yuck if you all want to watch. And the last thing is my schedule for the rest of this month. And unless you all have any questions or anything else you want to talk about, that's all I've got for this meeting.
Or any questions?
I would just say,
You're good. You're good.
I was just gonna say, hopefully with the addition of Mr. Hall, that will take a little bit off your plate.
Already has.
It'll give you a little bit more time to do what you need to do to get organized, and give him the ability to learn a little more about what's going on in the whole service authority. I think this has been a long time coming, and I'm glad to see that position filled, and you hired someone locally, and everybody seems to be on the same page. So I think this is going forward will be good for the Amherst County Service.
Yes, sir. And I'm go ahead and I know I told you all it would be 2020. I apologize for taking that long, but I really thought it was a good idea, and I think the wait was well worth it. I think we've got a real gem of a person who's going to be here for a long time and bring an awful lot. I mean, he already has brought an awful lot to the service authority, and I'm looking forward to working with him. He's very enthusiastic, very eager, and the people, the staff seem to like him, and so I think it's going to work out well.
And the knowledge with the Central Virginia Training Center, of course, that would help out more than just with the service authority that may help out somewhere along the lines with the county going forward, with the redevelopment of that property. So,
Yes.
certainly a good choice there.
Well, one of the things that I've been pushing for a while is to get service authority representation at the tag team meetings for the development, the campus development, and I've been unsuccessful at getting them to invite me or us, the service authority, to be represented. So, but Richard has been going to the meetings. He's been representing the training center. So now he can go to the meetings and represent us. So we've got kind of a backdoor admission to the tag team meetings, which is, I think, is going to be a big plus.
Okay, this time we're gonna open it back up for citizen comments. Anybody here wishing to speak? All right, seeing here none, we'll move on matters from the members of the board. Mr. Wood?
Yes, ma'am. I do have something just as I was thinking about this, now that you have some help in the office. I'd like, at the appropriate time, you're working on an asset management plan, something that would help this board understand what the future plans are for the authority and looking forward, and priority list of projects that you see or investments that need to be made over the next couple of years, which is on what your asset management plan is going to show.
Yes.
But when you're ready to do it doesn't have to be final, but when you're at a point which you'd like to get the board an update, I think that'd be worthwhile.
Well, I've been working on that list for several months. It's just our meeting agendas have been pretty cramped for the last several months. I can probably bring it to the next meeting.
When it's convenient and when it fits.
Thank you. Mr. Pugh? I have nothing but welcome, Mr. Hall, glad you're here. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Pugh. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Emergency.